Hey, it's your boy Sergeant Hooked on Heroes with another On the Way to Work and I Feel Like It review. Today we're talking about DonBrothers, episode 29. They were not at all, even a little bit kidding when they said that after like summer was done for the most part, that these next episodes were going to be diving headfirst into that plot. Yeah, last week was more of like, I guess, a filler type of situation, but the one before that was the whole thing with Senoi. So this is kind of dealing with the aftermath of Senoi's death. So we start with Murasame. Murasame brings his body back to the Naoto, and they thank him for it and everything, and they said they'll grant him any wish he wants. He's like, well, I wish to have freedom. And they were like, what do you mean? He's like, I wish to figure out who I am and what my purpose is. And the Okasa, or mother personality or part of him takes over and says, your mission is to fight and blah blah blah. And he's like, no, it's got to be more than that. And so he leaves, and they mention about him being an experiment again, like, oh, you're only an experiment and blah blah blah. And so he's questioning things a lot about who he is and what's his purpose and all that. And at the same time, we see Taro has gotten an invitation in like a sandwich or something from the Naoto that he's been invited to Senoi's funeral, which is very odd because other than Senoi, the other Naoto aren't as like, nice to him and the DonBrothers. Clearly, they want to destroy the Don clan. I guess a case could be made for Senoni and Sonoza to eventually swap over to more of the good side. But anyways, he's been invited, so he goes. And while that's happening, we switch back to Murasame, who has met up with Jiro in feral Jiro form. Come to find out, goodness, this revelation, feral Jiro, like Torbolt Jiro, is the original Jiro? We had always thought the entire time that it was the opposite, that feral Jiro came out later, and it was, the Jiro we know who's playful and a hero and, what have you, was the real Jiro. No. Feral Jiro was the original Jiro, and the reason that he even, birthed, if you will, the Jiro personality, I'm talking about Feral doing this, is because he, I think as a kid, he, started getting friends, and they, surrounded him and were playing a game, and he was having a lot of fun with it, and somehow, the fun and the happiness and good feelings of being around his friends brought out the new personality of Jiro that took over and was, center stage, if you will. So yeah, that was a big, huge revelation that this, character we've been following for this whole time with this split personality situation isn't who we thought he was. And he talks to Murasame about that. And Murasame's like, I feel like I'm kind of similar to that because, I have, mother who's telling me what to do. And it kind of sort of hints at the fact that this mother, voice that's talking to Murasame is possibly a second personality or something. So that's really interesting. We'll see where that goes. But feral Jiro switches back to normal Jiro, and Jiro's like, yeah, I heard a lot of what he said, and I kind of agree with that. I think our purpose is both of us living our lives the way we want to figure out what it means to live, to figure out what it means to be alive. And so him and Murasame kind of bond over that, because Murasame wants to know that. What does it mean to live? What does it mean to be alive? So I thought it was really interesting that we're giving some characterization here. I really hope that Murasame is actually a full-on character. I don't know if they're going to have a physical form at all, but as an actual character, because it would be really sad to characterize him all this time and then all of a sudden just destroy him and give his power to Senoi or something like that. So while this is happening, we keep switching back to Taro, who is at the Naoto base, and they're preparing him for the ceremony, and they bathe him and give him a massage and all this goofy stuff, and it's all a ploy, and you'll see why. And I think when he's getting the massage, he tells them to go harder, and they won't, and he's like this, and he does the dumb ha 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 Momotaro laugh, but out of suit, and it's kind of terrifying. So anyway, we do switch back again to the stars of this episode, Murasame and Jiro, and the Hitotsuoki, which was some boss, dickhead boss at some company. It's an Aba Ranger Hitotsuoki. There's not much characterization given to him, honestly. But he's fighting the team, and they go down to help. We'll help too, and they go down to fight. And during it, Murasame gets too tired and gets reabsorbed back into the sword, the ninja sword, and flies away, right? Well, it flies off, finds Tsubasa, and puts itself in his hand, and you find out that it can possess people. That's how it recharges itself. It possesses people, tells them to fight, and by fighting, it recharges the sword. Keep that in mind. So Tsubasa is fighting the one detective beast person guy is chasing him. So he's fighting him. He gets like slash in on him and whatever. And then they get interrupted actually by Miho / Natsumi. Slash the I think the crane beast person, we think anyway. And she interrupts them and kind of fights with Tsubasa a little bit, but then escapes. And then after that, he pulls out of being controlled by the sword and it leaves him, right? So he doesn't even see that that's happening, and we'll get to that for the next week's episode preview. So it flies off, and we get a whole sequence where it's going through a bunch of the people. So first it's with, I think from her, oh no, that's right, what knocks him out of being controlled actually is Sononi. Sononi and Sonoza find out where, the sword is at. And actually they say earlier in the episode that they're haunted by Sonoi's last words, who told them, if I am felled in battle, if I do die, fall in battle, to, depend on Murasame. He will do what's right. He will keep us safe, blah, blah, blah. Really interesting there. Especially because allegedly it seems as though Murasame is the only one right now that can actually hurt the Johto, the beast persons. It's kind of interesting. So Sononi tries to stop Tsubasa actually. It's actually kind of interesting. You can tell that she has a connection with him, and then clearly Sonoza has a connection with Haruka. But she tries to stop Tsubasa. She's like, this isn't you, this isn't who you really are. And the sword goes from him to her, takes over Sononi. So they're even susceptible to the sword. And it's like fight, and it takes control, it makes their eyes all dark and whatever. And so she's fighting, and Sonoza's trying to stop her. And the sword goes to Shinichi next. They're like, Haruka tells him, that's a demonic sword there. I'm pretty sure it's Murasame's. I'd be careful touching it. He's like, it's okay. You just have to have the proper wabi-sabi, like his way of life or whatever. Instantly gets possessed. Does a dark, like, evil haiku about, like, killing or something like that, or just, like, attacking, murder or something like that. Fights for a little while. Jiro comes into the battle as well. And Taro, back in the funeral area, or Snowy's body, part of the ceremony, they're like, you want to say any words? He's like, no. He feels bad that he never got to eat Odin with him. He has a fantasy about going out on a date with his boyfriend. Clearly he loves Sonoy. They're very gay. And after that, he tries to leave, and there's a final part of the ceremony. So they reanimate the armor, Sonoy's armor, and it fights Momotaro. He transforms, of course, into Don Momotaro. And he defeats it, but realizes it's just a shell, like it's just being puppeteered clearly. But he goes to stab it through the chest, and it stops his sword and absorbs his power into it, so he can't transform. Which is interesting. I wonder what they're going to do with that, if they're just going to use it as a way to revive Sonoi. And also it's interesting because it's similar to what we're going to get in a few minutes here with some stuff with Murasame, because right after this, Taro gets sent back to the human world, if you will, and sees everybody fighting, and goes to transform, and he's like, all right, Avataro change, done better, and it like won't go forward, and it like shoots out smoke. But he sees the ninja arc sword, it flies out of Shinichi's hand, he takes it, doesn't possess him, but uses it as like a battery to recharge himself, and he transforms. And the sword keeps telling him to fight, he's like, shut up you, I don't listen to anybody. Like he's like able to reject the sword. So I wonder if there's some kind of connection there, because if Murasame needs the sword to fight others and possess others and to recharge, and technically Sonoi needed to, sap power from Don Momotaro, I wonder if there's going to be a connection there where they're going to try and put the two together, or if Murasame is like perhaps Sonoi's true form or something like that. I don't know. I feel like there's a connection there, because Murasame is literally a purple shark ninja, and the main color for Sonoi has always been purple. Now, it might change now that he has a bit of Momotaro's power within him. I don't know what that means, if it's just going to revive him and make him alive, bring him back to life, or give him a new form. Nobody knows right now. Taro uses the sword and ends up defeating the Totsuoki. They come together as, Torodora Onitaishin, and destroy the Totsuoki. And the sword flies away, like always. Actually doesn't. Sonoza catches it at the last minute and seals it with manga pages somehow, and like, a bit of Naruto magic, which is interesting. It further solidifies his connection with and verging on friendship with Haruka. So he seals it with manga and says, that no one else will get hurt by this, and blah, blah, blah. And at the very end of it, we see Sonoi reawaken. So overall, a really entertaining episode. I really enjoyed the interaction between the characters. I love the revelations we got about Jiro, about Feral Jiro, how he feels a kinship to Murasame similarly to him. I think even the mother character said, like, I'll be more open to listening to you now, Murasame, if that will make you happy, and he says it would. So, bit of evolution on his character and who he is. But yeah, some really interesting implications here. Again, I wonder if there's some kind of connection between how Sonoi was revived and how we see now how Murasame works, where the sword has to find other people to possess and fight to recharge its energy. And what he was intentional, like what if we're gonna get like a full backstory episode of his creation and what corrupted him and made him the way he is, if he was ever human at all, or had a physical form at all, or if it was just a consciousness created just for the, purpose of, at first, I think, defending the Don clan, and then eventually being against it and being used by the Naoto and blah, blah, blah. Next week's episode looks also insane. Haruka's aunt that she lives with is kidnapped. Okay. And also, it was something about, I think, that the Brain Persons and the DonBrothers are going to team up to fight against the Beast Persons now. That they're that much of a threat. I think Sonoi's back. I'm not 100% pretty sure he is. I mean, he was revived. I don't know if he's back in the episode or not. But we did also see Tsubasa up against a wall, and behind him in the window, he can see Tsuyoshi, and who to Tsuyoshi is Miho, not Natsumi. Yeah, so it looks like he might be finally not only figuring out that Tsuyoshi is Kiji brother, but also seeing Tsuyoshi with Miho and being very upset by that. So I wonder what that's going to do with the team dynamic, if once it's explained that the Beast Person took her over and, made her into a different person, if he's just going to let him stay with Tsuyoshi, if he's going to try to get her back. I kind of feel like he's going to be the honorable guy and see that she's happy with Tsuyoshi, and that he's going to let her stay with him. Not let her, but he's going to be okay with her staying with Tsuyoshi, and that because of his connection with Sononi, that he might start to fall for her instead. But I don't know for sure. I mean, he had a pretty long relationship with Miho before she was taken. So it's going to be really interesting to see what this does to the team dynamics overall, and especially if he gets to finally see who the other team members are. Clearly he's figuring out Kiji brother. Kiji brother's not going to be able to keep a secret. So, but yeah, overall, really good episode. I really enjoyed it. Really good character work, really good fight choreography. The use of the powers was really awesome. Getting some really good backstory on Jiro/Feral Jiro and Murasame, and just more, world building and more story here. They really are going full on, rocketing towards where, our conclusion here. I do think that we'll get revealed pretty soon who the primary villain is going to be. If I had my guess, my money would be on the Sonoi's parents or whoever those Naoto people are. Maybe, I don't know. Just because I've never felt like Sonoi, Sononi, and Sonoza have ever felt like real villains. I feel like they're just kind of red herring, honestly. And the Beast Persons are just more of a feral threat to take care of, rather than being a, actual main villain to go up against. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see who we get the reveal is of who the actual villain is, but I'm kind of digging it, Yeah, sure, in other Sentai, usually, by tradition, we get it, pretty early on, the setup of, who's the main leader and then their generals and whatever. But I kind of like this setup, because we've had a lot of time to focus on these characters, really get into who they are, and tell some really interesting stories. So I'm really happy about that. Overall, I probably would give the episode a straight 10 out of 10. It is probably my favorite so far, and I'm sure next week is going to be another banger of an episode. Coming up this week on the channel, I do have so this review, clearly, and then also my Geats episode 3 review. Should go up somewhere around Thursday, Friday. I'm trying to work it out to where I put up my videos on Fridays now, so that on the Henshins and Homies podcast, we can talk about things a little bit, not too many details, just to not spoil my review, but a little bit, kind of geek out about things. This week's episode will be a little different. It is going to be on Thursday again. I know I said we're going to move to Fridays, and I'm sorry about that. But this week will be on Thursday at 10 p.m. Only because our guest, Daryl J. Delphin, he's a really awesome, talented voice actor, and also a huge fan of Tokusatsu. He's a huge fan, the number one stan, I would say, of Forever Red, the Wild Force episode. He actually has the script on him at all times, digitally downloaded, ready to go, and he posts it all the time. So he's really good. He's a really nice guy, really super funny and friendly. So we're going to be talking to him. This week's episode of Henshins and Homies, the topic will be pivotal / favorite Toku moments, just like wow, like, you know, surprising or shocking or awesome moments. May it be a fight scene, a transformation, a story reveal, a character death / resurrection, whatever. Spoilers ahoy, clearly. And then also a little bit of each of us kind of talking about probably one each of our own original Toku ideas. I have a couple ideas I'm kind of running around in my head when I want to talk about. Probably a Sentai idea that I have. But yeah, so that's probably what we're going to be talking about, is going to be pivotal / favorite Toku moments, and then our own original Toku ideas, plus kind of picking his brain about voice acting as much as we can within that time. But yeah, then going forward, the episodes will be clearly on Fridays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for the most part, I'm pretty sure. My co-host got a new job, and he's trying to work out the details of his schedule, and hoping that will work out. But thank you guys so much for watching, for subscribing, for commenting, liking. We're at about 333, 335 something subscribers, somewhere around there. So I'm really, really happy about that. I have no clue how it even happened, but thank you guys very much. I really enjoy, you know, being a part of this Toku community and being able to talk about these things with like-minded people. And if you guys have any comments below, if you want to talk about the episode and you'd love it, hate it in the middle, you know, theories going forward, ideas for things for me to review, let me know, absolutely. Yeah, I guess until next time, stay hooked on heroes. I will talk to you later. Bye, 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 bye.